Hey, welcome in. How's my audio sound? Yeah, yeah. We'll see what happens. Hey, Leah, how you doing? Welcome in. Thank you for joining. I got a, I got a good thing planned today, and some other things I'm gonna be working on. But I've been working on this one for a while, getting everything together, and yeah. Ooh, excuse me. Adriana, how are you? Thank you for coming in. You still gotta send me that picture of your was it Halloween when you were younger? That picture. Now, Kiss is one of those bands that everybody's dressed up as at least once. I think I was Gene Simmons one year for Halloween. Like I was like 9 or 10 or something like that. I'll let him come in and I'll get started. It's gonna be a. I think people are like Buffalo, my brother, how you doing? Buffalo, I got a good one lined up, man. I'm sure you'll remember a lot of things that I'm going to talk about with these guys. If you're not following Fafo, which I know the whole entire world is, follow him. If you could smash the like button for me, subscribe, get my channel out there. It's starting to take off like I wanted to. I'm gonna be doing a lot more of these. I got a few things lined up. But this one I've been working on. This is one of the ones I've been going through my head with and pulling different things. Yeah, Fafo, drop your link. Oh my God, it's awake. Morning, Treaton. How are you, honey? Thanks for coming in. All right, real quick. How's my audio? Because I've been getting a couple people say that a couple times past few streams they couldn't hear it, and I'm like, I played it back for me on my TV, on my computer here, my phone. It's fine. So I don't know if it was their settings or what, but I played it back and listened to it 5 times, and I don't know. All right, cool. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. I mean, all I do is adjust my soundboard a little bit, but even before I did that, I listened to it on here again, my phone, my big screen TV, uh, Mrs. Metalhead's phone. I'm like, that's why I told the two people to turn your device up. Check your settings on your end, not mine. I even had other people that are on here, other collectors, tell me there's been no issues. So I don't know. All right, I'm gonna get started. All right, this is about one of the biggest bands in the world. I'm sure everybody has heard them once, twice, 3 times. KISS. Um, they've been around since, oh God, 72, 73 is when they first formed. Here, for those you don't know, they're from here in New York. They just got a street named after them, or supposedly going to have a street named after them in East Village. I think it's going to be. For those you don't know, the original name of KISS was going to be Wicked Lester. That was going to be the original name of them. That was fronted by, that was the original name was Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. That's before KISS was even thought of. Yeah, I know. I was thinking that too. So, you know, but because I listened to it many times, the streams. I mean, I rewatch them anyways, just to make sure everything's good with them. So I don't know, but yeah, they were called Wicked Lester before KISS came, before the name KISS even popped off. That was the original birth of KISS. Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons. That was in Wicked Lester. Sorry, I just got a text from somebody. Treaton, tell Yo Ange. No. Just text her no. That's another story. Anyways, tell her I'm on. I actually, she's the one that said it. But anyways, the original KISS lineup was Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley. Now, you guys know how they started with the makeup and everything. They each had different names that they were nicknamed for their makeup. Lead singer Paul Stanley, because he had the star, he was nicknamed Starman because of the star. Gene Simmons, because of his scary makeup that he had, he was known as the demon or the demon man because of his makeup. The drummer, one of my favorites, Peter Criss. I'll get to more about why he was in and out of the band and what happened with them during a couple of live shows between him and Paul Stanley. He was known as the Catman because he had whiskers on his makeup, a little brown or black on his nose. Yo, Ange, how you doing, brother? Ma'am, brother. Oh my God, I thought it was Fawful. Welcome in, Ange. Thanks for coming in. Oh, Ange, no. I'll text you later on about that. The person that he was used to come in your chat all the time. She hasn't been in there a while. If she does, she sees who's in there, she leaves. But she's been in your chat in the past. Yeah. Everybody follow you, Ange, if you're not ready. Darlene, how are you doing, honey? Welcome in. Thank you for showing in. As I call her, Darlene, small W, big W, or vice versa. Anyways, Ace Frehley was known as the Spaceman or Space Ace because of his makeup. Members that came in after, I'll get to them as I go on. All right. When KISS first came about, their first two records, self-titled KISS and Hotter Than Hell, both released in the same year, 74. I think like a couple months apart. They were asked to tone it back on the makeup and their music because coming out in the early 70s, people were accustomed to them. They still had, Zeppelin coming about, Earth, the original name of Sabbath. You had Cream, bands like that. But they really didn't have an early hard rock act like with KISS. Their first two records, first one right here, KISS, came out in 74. it didn't do that well at all because they didn't have no promotion for him whatsoever. No singles being released, no, early releases or anything. So they just threw this album out. People didn't know what to make of him. Needless to say. They were asked to tone it back a little bit. Their makeup, it was too scary, especially for that time frame, 70, early 70s. Again, that type of music was frowned on. You had disco going on. You had new wave starting. You had the early sub pop from Europe. So KISS wasn't really welcomed by a lot of people, in the industry and fans. The first album, I think, was pretty good. You had, in my opinion, one of their iconic songs, Strutter, the first song. Cold Gin, I love that song. That song's been covered by so many bands. There's a band called Death Angel that covered covered Cold Gin. Like one of the first albums, Pantera covered it. I'll get to Pantera later on, where they factor into this. The song Deuce, I love that song. Black Diamond, another classic. It didn't do well, which I was shocked when I heard that. I was born in 75. This album came out in 74, as did Hotter Than Hell, their second release, which came out in the same year, 74. This one too, it wasn't taken great. Like I said, they didn't put all these singles on it. Got very little radio play back then, or airplay for that matter. KISS didn't get that much radio play until MTV, really. This one, there's good songs on here. But for that time, 74 disco era, it wasn't taken, as, a force. People didn't want to hear it, This one, the classic Parasite song, for me, Hotter Than Hell. I love that song. Strange Ways, Mainline, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. There was, some good tracks on these albums, but again, back then no one wanted to hear it. You still had Zeppelin, buzzing back then, and they didn't want to hear it. And people frowned on Zeppelin. That's where KISS. That's what KISS tried to emulate. Zeppelin. And it caught some slack, as a lot of, upcoming hard rock heavy metal bands did, especially in the 70s, late 70s, even the early 80s for that matter. It wasn't until, I would say, their third one came in, Dressed to Kill. This came out in 75. I always laugh when I see this album cover. Their record label, record execs, whoever else wanted them to be more listener friendly, especially if they were going to make appearances on TV back then. I laugh at this because they have their makeup on still, but they're dressed in suits. That's taking aim. That's taking aim at the label. Casa, incidentally, the first 8 records, 9, were released on Casablanca Records, which I don't think is even around anymore. The producers at Casablanca, the execs didn't like, they wanted them to be more radio Frehley for people. It didn't happen. This one was the start of their success. You had Rock and Roll All Night on here, Two Timer, which great song, Rock Bottom, Come On and Love Me. This is the one that propelled them. A lot of people say it was Hotter Than Hell. No, this is the one that started that whole KISS going forward. Then the next one's Destroyer, Rock and Roll All Night, or Rock and Roll All Over, I'm sorry, and Love Gun that came out in 77. They, especially Destroyer, which I think it's one of my personal favorite KISS albums of all time. This one had all the big hits you hear today. This one has all the hits that are on everybody's playlist. The ones you hear constantly on the radio, MTV, whatever. A lot of these have been in commercials. Black Diamond, yes. liitle, yes. Black Diamond is one of my favorite ones. That's on, oh God. That's on. First one, yeah. That one should have been pushed as a single when the album came out, because it would have, I think it would have grabbed people. It would have said, okay, here's what we are. But they didn't promote nothing. They had no promotion for any of their first albums. Their first two records, they had no type of promotion. And I mean zilch. Which today, Patrick, brother, how you doing, man? Thank you for coming in. Unlike today, and in the 90s, even the 80s, bands put out singles to promote their albums. Or they had, there were magazines or fanzines that promoted what was coming out. So and radio's always got the early, releases of singles, and they didn't do it. So I think that's what held them back, because no one knew what they were putting out. No one knew of them. No one even heard of them. No, I mean, not even here in New York, and all the iconic stuff that came out of the East Village, Lower East Side, Midtown, Queens, Brooklyn, if they would have done that, it might have been different for them, those first 2-3 albums. But Destroyer had this album, Destroyer. I tell everybody, if you want to get anybody into KISS, just throw them this record. The famous Detroit Rock City, God of Thunder, Great Expectations, Shout It Out Loud, the classic ballad Beth, Flaming Youth. This is one of my favorites by them. I think with this one, they did a lot of promotion on this. This was certified gold. I believe what you call it? That other label, that other thing, platinum. Platinum is gold and platinum, anything over 500,000 or 1 million. And let's face it, they have over 25 million records sold. And that's done by the RIAA. I forgot what it really stands for. I got it written down on paper because I knew I was going to forget it. Radio information, or reference information, something, or rather. It really wasn't a bad one. This, like I said, this one they promote it more, and that's why it got so big with them and with the fans. This is when they started doing more of their bigger shows. They really didn't become like a big arena rock band right away. They never were. They were not even really a big stadium band. Which back then there was no stadium rock or bands. It was just arena rock, which I still said they are. Yeah, they played over in Russia on the Monsters of Rock tour back in the 80s with it was Ozzy and Van Halen and Skid Row and somebody else. That was a Crew was also on that, and Dokken, I believe, too. That was a shit show of a show, to say the least. It was supposed to be called the Silver Tour. It was far from sober. Next one, same year, 76. Big promotion for this one. It was put out, it was hit hard. It was the singles from this were put out, on spot early. They put them out a lot of times on 45 back then too. It was a double. It was called a B-side, where you had one or two songs off the record. Then you had on the flip side, you had a different version of it. Cleo, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. This one, Calling Dr. Love, that song cut a lot of crap because they thought it was like a porn band, a sex band, which they were in a way. This is when they started to turn from the hard rock, sleaze almost in a way, but they still had that 70s. Of course, the 70s, you had a lot of, like I said, that new wave into disco. More people were into disco before they got, with the hard rock stuff. Hard Luck Woman, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, I Want You. There really wasn't bad tracks on that record, and that's one of the ones they pushed. The next one came out 77, I think. Yeah, Love Gun. This one almost didn't get released because of the title. And they pushed through it. This one has everything. Christine 16, another great song by them. Shock Me, Tomorrow Tonight, the infamous Love Gun, the title track. Almost Human. This one's played a lot. Even Hooligan, I think is one of those underrated dark tracks that didn't get noticed. I like that track. I was just listening to this the other day, and I was like, wow, why didn't that one get pushed for a single? Yeah, I mean, the early stuff for KISS, the first 5-6 albums were great, were monumental albums. The next one, Dynasty, is where they started having problems, and I mean major issues within the band. This one and the one that followed this one, Unmasked, Dynasty wasn't taken great by a lot of people. It wasn't received great. I think this is one of the one where they started having infights, and I mean on stage. I remember reading about this. I remember seeing clips of this years ago. They were doing tours, live shows, mind you. They were doing the ballad Beth. Well, Peter Criss got into it with Paul Stanley. Anybody knows KISS? Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons are probably two of the biggest douchebag members of bands. Yes, I said it. As much as I like KISS, yes. Paul, the story is they were doing Beth, and it was, Beth is a slow-paced ballad. If you guys go back and listen to the album, you'll hear it. It's not fast, it's mid-paced. It's a ballad. Well, Criss was playing it a little too fast. It was his song. Paul Stanley yelled back to him, slow it down, slow it down. They started arguing. Live show, mind you, about 20, I think it was like 25,000, 30 people or something like that. They were fighting on stage during that set. So Peter Criss, I read it in his book and I laughed. He slowed it down to the point where it was like slow motion playing. They ended up swearing at each other live in front of people. Big fallout. Peter Criss said, who the blank are you to tell me what the blank to do? And Paul Stanley went back at him. Well, Dynasty comes around. Wasn't a great album. Tanked. And I mean, tanked. They took time off. Around that time is when disco really started to get big. And the new wave coming in. Fans didn't like it. This album was frowned upon. A number of these songs are not done live. A number of these songs are not even in their playlist or their set list when they play. I Was Made for Loving You. That's still out there. That's one of those tracks that they play. Magic Touch, Hard Times, Dirty Living. But it wasn't, the fans didn't like it. And I mean, at all. Yeah, the disco. I always say I'm glad, I got into music, when I was like 8 or 9. And I'm glad my brother and whoever else, my cousins, weren't into disco. I mean, Saturday Night Fever is a great movie, don't get me wrong. But the music, some of it I question. I really do. But that was when disco started to get big, and this album tanked. The next one, Unmasked, was even worse. Gene Simmons has been quoted as saying, it's the worst album they ever did. It's a shit show. It's a shit album. They should have never done it. Fans didn't like it one bit. I tried listening to this album numerous times. It's not KISS. Far from it. I think Dynasty at that time was overlooked because of the disco, the new wave coming in. But yeah, it caused a lot of riffs on stage. That's when Peter Criss and Paul Stanley had their war. Another thing was when they're ending their shows, like most bands do, the guitarist will throw their picks out to the crowd. The drummers, if they have extra sticks, which they do a lot of times, they'll throw their sticks out to the crowd. Well, another thing that caused the fight was Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons were doing their thing, throwing the picks out, taking a crowd or whatever. Well, Peter Criss was throwing out his drumsticks. Well, he threw one. He admits he did it. It clocked Paul Stanley right back in the head. The fat part of the drumstick. If anybody knows drumsticks, it goes from thin up. And it's, most drumsticks are, made a little bit heavy so they could grip them. He flung it. It hit Paul Stanley right back in the head. I think he had like 2 or 3 stitches in the back of his head because of it. Peter Criss admitted doing it. He said, I didn't think I hit him that hard. He goes, I wasn't intending for the bigger part of the drumstick to hit him back in the head. I read that in his book, and I read it in Paul Stanley's book, and I fell out laughing. I mean, I heard bands collapsing on stage, but to be fighting, I mean, yeah, I'm sure we heard, getting off topic for a minute, about the thing going on with Jane's Addiction with Dave Navarro, Perry Farrell. I feel bad for Jane's Addiction. I feel bad for fans. Dave Navarro especially. It's Perry Farrell. Perry Farrell has always had what I call lead singer syndrome. For what I saw the clip, and a few of them that I saw, he was swearing at the crowd before this even happened. And for him to shoulder block Dave Navarro the way he did and then punch him, uncalled for. I understand he's going through mental health issues or whatever and wants to get help and apologize to the fans, promoters, whatever, to his bandmates. You just canceled the biggest tour. You know, they were supposed to play in Connecticut, coming up and play here. The rest of the tour is canceled. They don't have no clue what's going to happen with that band. They had issues at Jane's Addiction years ago. That's why Perry went to form his side project, Porno for Pyros. But that's another band from the 80s, 90s that, you know, fights. Anyways, getting back to this fight. Another one that I don't have by them. I'm only missing like 2 albums from their discography. I have this one and the other one, Monster, on my iTunes and on yeah, Patrick, that's what I say about me. I'm just a teeny bit mental. Deranged, yeah, mental, a little bit. Music from the Elders didn't do well at all. It didn't take off like I thought. I think it was a filler album because after that whole fiasco with Dynasty, that's when the band started, you know, straying from who they were. That came out in 87. Creatures of the Night. There, came out 82. It wasn't a bad record. About this time is when Peter Criss about had enough with everything. He left shortly after Dynasty came out. When Unleashed, that's not him on Unleashed. He was on Dynasty. He did like one song on Dynasty, and the rest is Eric Carr. Eric Carr was in the band for a year. If everyone knows KISS, Eric Carr died in 91 of heart cancer. Fans didn't take to Eric Carr right away during that tour. Eric Carr's nickname was called the Fox because of his makeup. They tried making Eric Carr makeup close to Peter Criss, and Peter Criss didn't like it. He felt like they were taking shots at him, making fun of him. The fans knew it wasn't Peter Criss behind the kit. You know, I think Peter Criss got the raw end of the deal with a lot of stuff, with the fights between Paul Stanley and Simmons. You know, I've seen interviews with Peter Criss. I've seen interviews with Paul Stanley. I've seen interviews with the entire band. They almost broke up around that time. They took time off. Didn't speak to one another at all. And they slowly tried mending fences, and it didn't work. They still had off fighting, you know, during sets, behind the stage, you know, and like when they're doing signings, there was fighting in front of crowds. You know, reminds me of like a David Lee Roth, to be honest with you. Creature of the Night. This is when Ace also left the band. There was issues with Paul Stanley and Simmons. You it was like you had 4 members and you had 2 members that were fighting. It was like 2-on-2 fight with the band. I think Ace is a tremendous guitar player, tremendous musician. It was just too much. I think too much for him to handle. The fighting, the infighting, the bickering. There's talk of him not getting royalties like he should have gotten. They're trying to change the way he played. He wouldn't do it, which I don't blame him. This is when Vinnie Vincent came in to the fold. I love Vinnie Vincent. After he left this, he put out some quality albums. Criss of the Night, it had the title track, Creatures of the Night. I love it loud. Saint and Sinner, War Machine. I love War Machine. It's a friend of mine back in Connecticut has a cover band named Saints and Sinner among his 6 cover bands that he does. But it's not like a regular, one and done cover band. He's been doing this for, about 25 years now. And he's good at it. He's well known here in New York, Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. He plays all just about up and down the East Coast. Rock and Roll Hell, Keep Me Coming. There's very good tracks on this album. This is when they lost the makeup. This is the start of them losing the makeup. After Creatures of the Night, Lick It Up came out. 83, I think it was. Yeah. No makeup at all. This is when they just said, we're going plain face, take it or leave it. This is the album that got so much airplay on MTV, so much airplay on the radio. Metal Miners, how you doing, brother? Thank you for coming in. Guys, if you want to follow somebody else that has an awesome channel, follow metal, similar to what I do, Metal Miners. But brother, I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you. Thank you for your support. I appreciate you. Lick It Up is the album that got a lot of attention on MTV. Whoever said MTV didn't play rock back then, bull. KISS was a mainstay on MTV. You turn on MTV any time of day back in 83, 84, 85, around that era, you saw them. They were on there promoting things, albums, everything. They were on every damn magazine you could think of back then. Hit Parade or Kerrang, Metal Edge, Circus. That's when magazines were around, before the internet. I like this album. The title track, Lick It Up, which is one of the first songs that I can remember hearing by them. My brother, again, I blame him for all my metal stuff. I think this is one of the first ones that I ever got on tape. I think I got it for like birthday or Christmas or something, along with a couple others. I'll remember them as I'm going. You had Not for the Innocent, Young and Wasted, which is a great song. All Hell Breaking Loose, the famous All Hell's Breaking Loose song by them. Fits Like a Glove. I call this the porn song. Dance All Over Your Face. You could just really imagine what that's about. Like I said, this is an album that got them to the forefront. They were still that hard rock metal band. Like I said, they were a mainstay. I appreciate it, metal. I appreciate it big time. Thank you. This got them the mainstay, and this started the whole mainstream. '83, '84 is when LA had that big hard rock, hair metal, glam metal thing starting to happen. You had KISS, you had Motley Crue starting off, coming up big. You had Kick Tracy, you had Bang Tango, oh God, Rat, Quiet Riot. So many bands coming out from that area that had the big poofy hair. KISS is the one that fit right in. That they were more of a sleaze metal band, as I like to call them, and a hard rock. There were bands that had more guys coming to their shows back then. Well, a lot of these bands said no. You know, we want to have more chicks coming to our shows, and that's when all the groupies started. The females that we call them the groupies, as we call them, the roundabouts. It was more females coming to shows, simply because you had these guys on stage, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, you know, spandex, you know, girls thought they were hot. Another reason why I'm glad I straight to the death metal and thrash metal. That's from the term poser came along. A lot of the girls liked the pretty voice, and they fit right in, especially with the type of songs they were writing. You know, just the ballads, the "Sex You in the Windows," you know, songs. You know, that's when Gene Simmons started having his girl time backstage, as they called it. I mean, Def Leppard just had a little underground, understage thing for the girls. That's when the hard rock scene started to come about. Early '80s. That's when the disco started to go bye-bye. You know, and you had the new wave coming up. MTV was hot. MTV was popping these guys off like it was Tic Tacs. Every 5 minutes they were showing, you know, KISS, Motley Crue, Bang Tango. Oh God, there's so many, you know, Quiet Riot, Rat, Def Leppard. All the ones that attracted the mainstream, you know, all was attracted to groupies. Their next one that came out, '84, Animalize. Another one that got them big, got them noticed right away. This one, it had, again, some of the biggest KISS tracks. You had one of my favorite songs by them, Heaven's on Fire. Absolutely love that track. Lonely is the Hunter, Under the Gun, Murder on High Heels, I've Had Enough, Into the Fire. Great songs. Great record. This was when they started to get very, very big. And I mean, this is when their albums started to pop off. I think this one is also gold, if not platinum. And it was because of MTV. If you were an '80s band coming up, a sleaze band, a hard rock band, you got noticed at MTV. That's what MTV was pushing. After disco died and new wave started to die down, they started pushing the hard rock, the metal bands, the KISSes, the Def Leppards, Quiet Riot, Rat, Crew, things like that. The magazines started picking them up. They were a mainstay on magazine covers, much like Skid Row was in the '90s. That's when they started taking off. Let me catch you with the chat for 1 minute. Yeah, Leela, Shannon Tweed. Every 10-year-old boy's dream back then. I had the poster. Yeah, Fafo did Jenna Jameson, another one. Oh, you Malone. Anyways, spackle ceiling. Yeah, gotta love those ceilings. Yeah. That's when they started taking off, to say the least. We had Analyze, which they started. That really started putting them, out there, taking over the whole scene, getting more fans. Where they started going, where their crowds were getting big. They were putting out monster albums, monster releases. I think this is where the fame of it started to get to them. The popularity started to get to them. This is also about the time when Asylum came out. It wasn't. This isn't one of my favorite albums by them by a long shot, but this album was received big back then. I don't know why. My favorite song off this record is Tears Are Falling. I love that song. Ask Mrs. Metalhead. I was singing that song all day yesterday. All day I had it in my head. I was singing it. King of the Mountain, Trial by Fire, cover of Radar Love, All Night. You know what that's about. Again, this is when they strayed from the makeup. They kept going as that way for a while. But 85, 85, you had the glam hard rock hair metal bands getting big. You had KISS, Twisted Sister was starting to take off with Stay Hungry. And also You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. You had Quiet Riot, Rat started to take off with their videos with Round and Round. With what's his name? That used to be in their videos all the time. He played different parts in their videos. I forgot his name. George Burns. I think it was George Burns. Was it George Burns? I think I'm getting names confused now. But that's when the whole Bon Jovi even started. Bon Jovi was coming out, with 7800 Fahrenheit, I think it was. You had them popping off from was it Milton Berle? Joseph Catron, how you doing, bro? I know you're in here. How you doing, brother? Was it Milton Berle? He played all the different characters in that those rap videos, which I thought were hilarious. Yes, I do have a couple Rat albums. I got them in they reissued a lot of the band's original recordings in like a 5-pack. I got that somewhere over there. Christoph, thanks for coming in. How you can set music, do metal. I'm a big Anvil fan. I could get to them later on. They were also around. Anvil's been around for decades. Anvil's one of those bands that's not going to die. Anvil's been putting out stuff since mid '80s. I'm not. I'll get them to another stream. Now I lost a train of thought. Crazy Nights came out after Asylum. Another one that sent them further, in another top-selling album, great album put out. They caught more attention. wait, hold on. What's going on? When I get rapper against rappers. Adriana, what's that about? Hold on, what did I miss? Oh, okay. No, I've been trying to catch up. I mean, it's going so fast. I'll hold on. Oh, okay. Why do I know that for? I know that lyric. I don't know why. God, see, it's like the participation. You know, Crazy Nights put them over. This is when I believe this is the album. Vinnie Vincent got kicked out in between. He got kicked out of the band for doing lewd and obscene things. They wouldn't elaborate too much, but I can only imagine what was going on. Yeah, sorry, Bone Thugs. There you go. California rap, mumble rap. This album didn't have bad tracks on it. Christoph, I just said a little while ago. Yeah, I have almost everything in their catalog. I said that way earlier. Hold on. This one had some good tracks on it. It's not my favorite. I think it grabbed people in that time because of they were KISS, they were hard, they were not too heavy, but they had the appeal back then. When your walls come down, hell or high water, bang bang you, I'll fight hell to hold you, and another strong power ballad by them. So yeah, it's one of those albums that grabbed people. It kept people interested. The next album that came out by them was Hot in the Shade. I love this album. This is my favorite, one of my favorite records by KISS of all time. This one, this also, Little Caesar, I think it is, on this record. I had to write down some notes. I think this is the one. Yeah, Little Caesar, the second to last track on his record, was the last one of the last things Eric Carr ever wrote. It's on this record. I'm glad. I was happy that they put this on here for him. I think he was taking another one for that time that was gone way too early, I think, in his career. There's no telling where Eric Carr could have gone, in music in general. Hold on. Christoph, yes, I have. I've seen KISS 3 times, I believe. I didn't go to the one that they recently did here in New York in last year. It was supposed to be one of their final shows, one of their final concerts. We'll see how far that goes. Anyways, this one, I love this record. Top to bottom, I don't think there's a bad track on this record. They had the great power ballad Forever, which I absolutely love that song. Loves a Slap in the Face, King of Hearts, somewhere between Heaven and Hell, Boomerang. This came out at a time where they were coming to the 90s. they took a little break after this record, where things were changing. 86 to about mid-90s, you had thrash metal popping off big time. Thrash metal grabbed everybody by the neck and shook the hell out of them. I covered it a couple of streams ago. Thrash metal was always under that radar. Always. You had, reason being, you had like some KISS, Bon Jovi, Rat, Quiet Riot, bands like that everybody loved. That was getting the exposure. 86 rolls around, you had Slayer releasing the metal album of Forever. You had bands like Maiden coming around, Priest, Testament, Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica started to pop off. Get bigger than they were already. You had Wasp, who was pushing that line of sleaze metal, hard rock, and heavy metal, and getting noticed. A lot of bands started popping off. The hardcore scene started popping. So that hard rock, glam metal, hair metal stuff started dwindling. This one, the next one was Revenge. This came out in 92, I believe it was. This is when they tried, it was received well, it went gold. I think their fans accepted it because it was heavier for them a little bit. It was a little more edgier too. The first song was one of the songs that they pushed off this record, Unholy. I remember MTV world premiering this, and I was like, okay, I like it. It's edgier for them, a little bit heavier. You had Tough Love, God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too, Thou Shall Not, Every Time I Look at You, Paralyzed, I Just Wanna. Then they did, also on here, they did a Eric Carr jam from 1981. They put it on here, which I think was great. You know, again, Carr meant, I think Carr meant so much to the band. Yeah, you know, he was taking over for, at that time, he was taking over for Peter Criss when he was with the band. But like I said, I think Eric Carr, if he didn't pass away like he did, so unexpectedly, so unfortunately, back in 91, I think they could have gone, you know, a lot further with him. This album, they took a little break for like 5 years from the next album, from the next record, from Revenge. When Carnival of Souls came out, it lacked promo big time. They didn't put it out. MTV, I think, put it up a couple times about them releasing it. They had a couple of interviews. But through that time, you had KISS promoting a lot of different things. A lot of different things. You had Gene Simmons promoting the wine that he had out. I think that's when his show started. Gene Simmons Family Values or whatever. I think that's when that started filming, if I'm not mistaken. You know, and you had KISS putting out all this stuff. You know, the little figures and a lot of things like that. Also, around that time, probably a couple of years before, I'll say late 80s, early 90s, roughly, Gene Simmons tried going after the legendary King Diamond for one of the stupidest things I ever heard. Face paint infringement. I was like, what? If anybody knows King Diamond, Patrick, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
You know, I thought the thought. Gene Simmons had a thing where he had to own everything, copyright everything. Another reason why I don't like Simmons that much. He tried going after King Diamond, saying his makeup was the same. I got him over there. I can't grab it right now. If you look up King Diamond, I'll say 88, 89. Look up Gene Simmons. Their makeup is different. King Diamond always changed his makeup. I'll tell you what, guys, give me 1 second. 1 second. Oh, God, that hurt. Getting old sucks. Sorry about that. All right. If anybody remembers what Gene Simmons' makeup looked like back in the 80s, that's King Diamond. All right? That's King Diamond. Now, mind you, King Diamond was in his previous band, 83, 84, called Merciful Fate, with the makeup. So I understand Gene Simmons and his bickery, but King Diamond was doing this just as long. King Diamond was in bands before. Granted, he had the makeup on, but once he hit Merciful Fate, that's when he started doing we call it corpse makeup. Corpse. You know, black and white, whatever. But King Diamond's makeup looks nothing like Gene Simmons' makeup. And I remember he was going after him for the longest time. He caught a lot of shit from a lot of metalheads that were into King Diamond. King Diamond laughed at him. King Diamond just laughed at him. Nothing came out of it. But that was when Gene Simmons tried copyrighting everything, saying he owned, everything. Why tell you everything? If you had a pencil and Gene Simmons picked it up from you, he would tell you he owned it. I know. That's one thing about KISS. Like I said, I like KISS. I don't love them. I'm a fan of them. I just didn't like a lot of things that they did, that they tried to cover. Hold on, let me catch up. Patrick, sit down. Christoph, yes, I've seen Pantera many times. Pantera's not around no more. You could say that they're Pantera, but they're not. If you think Pantera is Pantera, you're wrong. Pantera is now a tribute band. Period. Christoph, I'm just curious, since you mentioned Pantera, how many albums does Pantera have out, and when did Pantera first form? Anyways, yeah, I know they played with Metallica, and Metallica forced them to play out in the parking lot. I know about that. They took a break. Criss took a break from 92. Their next one came out in 97. Carnival of Souls. They had no promotion for this record. It's not a bad album. I think they were trying to find themselves on this record. I think they were trying to still be relevant with this record. Speaking of Pantera, I told you I was going to get to them about this. Everybody knows Dimebag Darrell, the late, great Dimebag Darrell, and his brother Vinnie, rest in peace, both of them, were huge KISS fans growing up. Huge. KISS, I should say Pantera took KISS out on tours in the 90s with them. That's one of the times I saw KISS with Pantera. There was a lot of things being said about KISS in the 90s that they were writing other bands' coattails to stay relevant. I didn't believe it. I started to see it a little bit with them when Pantera would take them out on tours. Pantera would come out and do songs with them on stage. Pantera did Cold Gin with them at a couple of shows in the 90s. A lot of people are saying, are they trying to stay relevant, fit in now because of the change in metal, the change of music, basically? Because let's face it, 90s metal took over, and I'll say to this day, metal took over to where a lot of these, bands from the 80s started to lose their grip, started to lose fans. Granted, KISS, has now the self-proclaimed KISS Army, which started years ago. I think if KISS had a hook onto coattails of any bands, I don't think they had to. Come on, at that time they were, I think, more than half their catalog then was certified gold or platinum. So, do I think they were doing it just to stay a little bit relevant in the 90s? Yeah, just a little bit. Because, like I said, you had these metal bands that were fans of them, and they knew it. They were taking them out on tours. After this one, they took another break for about a year. The next one that came out was it was Psycho Circus. It was Psycho Circus. Yeah. I got them stacked on the side of me, and I got some scribble scrabble. Like I always do. Like I tell everybody, when I'm doing things, I'll just write down things that are in my head, just scribble. So I got my notebook like full of scribble things. This came out 98. They went back to the makeup on this one. This one you had. Do I remember who was in the band at this time? I think it was the ones that are in the current lineup. Stanley, Tommy Thayer, Eric Singer, and Gene Simmons. That's the most current lineup. And there was a guy, Dave Kubik, he was in there for about a minute or two with them. This one I think the fans liked. I know I did, believe it or not. I Pledge My Allegiance to Rock and Roll, Psycho Circus, the title track. Raise Your Glasses, Dreamin'. I don't think it was a bad record. I think they were trying to find themselves. I think they were trying to still stay a little bit relevant with the public. I mean, they were still getting play on MTV. Yeah, Patrick, like I said, I'm not a huge KISS fan. I grew up listening to them. Like many bands, you have bands that, everybody jumped on the bandwagon, as I call it. Like I said, I have my own personal favorite albums by them, own favorite songs by them. Like I saw them 2-3 times, I think. Would I go see them now? Maybe not. Like I said, they just played 2023 here in the city. And MSG, I think they played 2 nights there, 3 nights, and they sold the place out as usual. I would love to go see them if it was the original members. That's how I would want to remember them. After Psycho Circus came out, they took a very, very long break from music to the point where fans thought they had broken up. because they weren't putting out anything. You had, I can't say that because you had them putting out best of some box sets, live albums, which I'll consider those a couple of their live albums, which are my favorite of all time by them, and probably my favorite live albums in general. They also released smashes, trashes, and hits with the famous "Let's Put the X in Sex" song. That was another best of. I would say bands that take so long. I think it was like 11 years. 98, 09. Yeah. It was like 11 years between Psycho Circus and Sonic Boom. This came out in 09. This album wasn't that bad. I think they were reaching. It did get some airplay, some radio play. Not as much as that in MTV here. Modern day Delilah, Yes I Know Nobody's Perfect, Hot and Cold, which I think is a great song off this record, and When Lightning Strikes. They also included, like I said, best ofs. They also included extra bonus tracks of their best hits when you just put out 3 or 4. But the thing I do like that they did, they included a bonus DVD of them in Buenos Aires, Brazil. Their last album they did, 2012, Monster. I got a copy of that. It's a good album. It leaves fans to wonder, is that all they got? Because come out 2012, you've been putting out, some live albums, bests of, they put out a couple, one album I forgot, one of the greatest, I think, stripped down MTV Unplugged album they did. This came out in, I think, 97, I believe, 96. Something like that. 96. It was probably right around the time Alice in Chains did theirs at the same place, East Village. Or, I'm sorry, Spanish Harlem. This is stripped down. I liked it because it showed them. Of course, they were still making money off it, like they always do. Yeah, Cleo, I like that song. That's one of those songs that grabs everybody. That's on like every one of their best ofs, and that everybody goes to. It's one of those songs that got them to who they are. I would say if you write the songs, people are going to grab onto it. They're going to gravitate towards you. And that's exactly what fans did from 73 or whatever it is till now. The guys have been around, 52 years now? 51 years. Yeah, 51, 52 years. I can't fault them. They have a total of like 24 albums. 4 of them are their solo albums that they did of each band member. And then you have, I would say 10 box sets. One of them I'm getting. It came out a couple years ago. It's a collector set. It's watching it on eBay. Oh, I might get hit with something that because I mentioned eBay. Anyways, it's a guitar case. It's about that big. It has like 4 or 5 albums in it. It's a collector's thing. It has different versions of songs, demos, outtakes, live tracks, best of, thing like that. that's one of the, and there's another box that they did that I do want to get. But putting out 30, 35 gold albums, and what have 20 of them are platinum. Over 25 or 28 million sold or something like that, roughly. But yeah, I applaud them. They pushed through all the BS. I think they got over. I think KISS finally realized, when they asked people, you wanted the best, you got the best. They had to prove it, and I think they did. You have some bands that, that shouldn't be doing it. They have bands that have been around 40 years plus that I think should just take the royalties and go home. I'm not going to mention any bands, Motley Crue. But, do I think their last show that they did, Patrick, yeah. Yeah, Favo, they've been around. They've been kicking. I can't fault them. Yeah, Patrick, exactly. They became a money-hugging machine mid-90s, early 2000s, when Simmons started doing that family value show. Like, he has family values. Give me a break. I mean, you did what with how many women, and your wife did what with how many guys? I mean, they're made for each other, my opinion. I mean, Simmons should be happy. Your wife was the biggest pinup girl besides what's her face from Whitesnake for every 10-year-old. Like I said, spackle ceiling. One of my favorite best of by them is their double disc 40-year best of album. This one I like because it showcases every member that was in this band. Every member, not just two, not just Stanley and Simmons. It showcases Ace. It showcases Peter Criss, the late, great Eric Carr, Vinnie Vincent, Mark St. John. I totally forgot about him. Bruce Kulick, who I said before. I think I called him John. Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer. I think Eric Singer is awesome. There's other members of a band, and they finally realized, we're not the only ones that made us big. Like I said, are there bands that should go away? Yeah, a number of them. But yeah, that's one of my favorite best of by them. Like I said, there are a few others I do have up there. I mean, everybody has that. I mean, I think every band around has that 20th century best of. It's basically your top 12 or what it is on the whatever the record label wants to do. It's the top 12 hits. Like I said, I'm only missing a couple of their discography. They're not the real big albums, but I have them on my burned thing for my iTunes. There are, I think they've put out some of the best live albums ever. You have the iconic double disc Kiss Alive 1. Great live album. You got Kiss Alive 2, which I think is the best live album right here. And then you got Kiss Alive 3. Different years, same tracks, but different locations. This one I found, I didn't even remember that they even did this. This came out in 95. It's Kiss Alive 3.5. It's basically the pickup of where this one left off. I didn't realize that they did this one. When I saw it, disc 2 of this is a carryover. It has Black Diamond, Detroit Rock City, Heaven's on Fire, God Gave Rock and Roll to You 2, Rock and Roll All Night. This was done over in Tokyo in 95, January of 95. I didn't realize that this was out, that they issued this. I think this came out originally as a bootleg. That's what I think. And Gene Simmons and Stanley said, "Oh, let's put that out and make some money off it." But yeah, there's getting back to what I was saying about them in the 90s. I know there's a lot of KISS fans still out there, older, like, probably older than me, and then there's KISS fans my age, and there's ones that are just getting into them. If I would have to say to anybody getting into them now, first 3 albums, mid 3 albums, last 3 albums, get those in the live albums. Get in, of course, get a couple of best ofs. Because there's albums in between that were just thrown out there. I wrote this down. 25 million certified. Platinum. Their first two albums went platinum, gold platinum in the first 2 years. By the RIAA, Recording Industry Association of America. There, I said it. I couldn't remember the goddamn name. Too long. I hate big words. For a band that went through so much trial, tribulations, fighting, bickering, reading their stories in their books about things that happen is absolutely mind-blowing. That's, yes, Joseph Trump. My brother had those when they first came out. He had them. That's, how I got into them. The tapes, when they came out, if you looked at your old tapes, the little squares on top of the tape, right there, if you didn't have the cover on those holes back then, your tape deck or your portable boombox was going to blank out those tapes for some reason. I think it was the quality back then, how they were made. I had them on tape. I warped the hell out of them. My brother, I think he still has them. He should. On vinyl. I haven't talked to my brother in years. I don't plan on it. He had them on vinyl. I seen them go. I seen KISS Live 1, 2, and 3 in a stack go for starting price of $1,250 on vinyl. Mint. I was like, they sell. But like Patrick was saying about them being a money machine, it's not a lie. Like I said, would I like to see them, the original KISS? Yeah. Well, Heartbeat. Will I doubt it. I think the so-called last show that they did here in the city last year should be the last. But you have bands, like KISS, Motley Crue, that care more about that. You know, I think I said about Motley Crue back at 14 when they said they're going to retire. I gave them 5 years. They surprised me and went 10 years. And I'm sorry. I know people out there said, oh, they're back. They're not back. Crew is not back. They're new. No. I'm sorry. No. Far from it. I mean, I think if they would have done it 6 years ago, maybe. But now, no. No, not even close. I think if there's still unsettled business with them, KISS, still a lot of animosity. There's still, I think, a lot of things about royalties not being paid out. About a certain person trying to act like he owns everything. I understand if you want to trademark the band name, that's their right. But a lot of times when that happens, you know, you're basically controlling your music, which is fine. You know, they did have a hand in that whole downloading thing that happened years ago. But yeah, so I don't know about KISS. No, don't put it Fafa in a little jumpsuit. That's scary just thinking about it. Oh, God. I am working on a few other things. Patrick, don't start. I see that face. Don't do it. I'm working on a few other things. This one's going to take me a little bit to get everything in order how I want to do it. I will be doing a complete talk about Motorhead. Reason I say it's going to take a while. I got a lot of it. And I'm not only going to do their studio. I might break it down between studio albums, live albums, and double live albums. Maiden I'm working on do a complete early 90s thing. Because it's like I said, there's so many bands that came out of the 90s. You know, with KISS, I think, you know, if anybody was around the 70s knows what I'm talking about, you had the disco. And KISS wasn't wanted back then. You know, and that's why I said I think KISS paved it so, you know, metal was going to come up. See what? Yeah. Kevin Bill Wilkin, what's the 3 about? What did I miss? Maj, just keep an eye. You have my permission if it starts. But what's everybody? Joseph, Fafo, Patrick, what's your favorite offhand? You know, what's your favorite KISS album or song? Cleo, you too. And Leela, I think is still in here. And Yo Ange. I mean, with KISS, there's so many different, genres, I think, inside KISS. Like I said, they started off with that pop rock, hard rock, and then if you notice, they had to change. They had to change with the times. Whether it was getting a little bit grittier, a little bit heavier, or taking time off to reevaluate themselves. I mean, being a band like KISS that has sold so many, records and, so many gold records, platinum, so many songs that, that they did over their career. It's, with all the best ofs that they have out, it's kind of hard to pinpoint. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. That Rock and Roll All Night, probably I think that's one of the songs that's going to, be around even when we're not around anymore. I mean, I see that song in so many commercials, hear it on so many shows. I was made. RFD, where'd you come from? Welcome in, brother. How you doing? Yeah, I got Destroyer right here. RFD must have been one of those people that were hiding in the alleyway, peeking around the corner. I'm here. RFD right there. Original. This is the one that I think I said it earlier. This is the one that put him out. This one has all the main grab ones, in my opinion. Yeah, Favo, yeah. Ouch, damn Mike. God of Thunder was, in a way, a little bit heavy, especially for them back then. But they oh cool. They I think I applaud them for when the first two records came out that didn't do great at the time. Grant, they went gold and platinum like that. I think by them telling the record label, record execs, whoever else, we're not going to change. I think that I applaud them for that because so many bands would have quickly, folded, said, okay, no, we're done with you, and then changed. Can I imagine music and hard rock metal in general without KISS? No. Reason being, they helped a lot of other bands along the way. Did they step on a couple bands? Yeah. But, their music is going to be around for decades and on, much like Iron Maiden and Priest, Motorhead for that matter too. They stayed with it, and I think that's a lot, to say for a band 52 years into it. Yeah, Cleo, it might be a little bit more than that now. It might be double that now. Because you got to factor in, they own the rights to all their music. If you get them off of, like, say, Bandcamp or something like that, a lot of it goes to them. They're still the highest merchandising band I think, period. And with everything that they put out, it's trademarked. So it goes right back to them. So you're figuring probably double. 77. They were, in a way, yeah. But I think too, 77 is when they had that little off. Because right about that time, Dynasty was getting ready to come out. And that's when they had the issues with the band. That people don't realize this. That album Dynasty, they lost because of all the infighting. The album itself and Unmasked after that one, they're look up their ticket sales and tours for back in, what was it, 79, 80, and I'll say 81. Oh, 78, 79, 81, 80 in that area. Look up the financials. I'm sure there's somewhere you can find it. They had canceled tours back then. Reason I know is my brother told me they canceled 2 tours that he was supposed to go to when they were playing close to Connecticut. I think one here and one in Massachusetts, I believe. They had to cancel tours because of the infighting in the band. They weren't selling. Those albums weren't sell. They did not sell right away. And nobody wanted to go see them. Nobody wanted to pick up those albums. Nobody wanted to go see KISS around that time because of disco and uprising on new wave. So they really weren't that big tour wise, merchandise wise. Their record sales tanked for a little bit too, back in between 78, 77 to like 80, mid 80ish. That's really because of the album, and not only that, but fans seeing them fighting on stage 3 or 4 times like they did. I don't think it was good for business. I don't think it was good for the band. I think a lot of fans back then got scared of it. Because, like I said, back in the 70s, you still had the low-key hard rock kicking around. You had disco, new wave, funk, things like that. I think a lot of fans didn't want to deal with them. I think they lost a lot of fans then. I mean, they didn't have that many, like they do now. But I think they lost some fans. And they had to get them back. And the only way to get them back was, after Unmasked and Creatures of the Night came out, 83 came out with Lick It Up. And then you had them with No Makeup. And I think people saw them without any makeup on, and that got them even more. Because I think it was from 83 to like 90 something in that range. They didn't do any makeup for any other releases. Even if they showed up somewhere, they didn't wear makeup. They shocked a lot of people when they did come back with makeup on. A lot of people weren't expecting it. But yeah, I think that one era for them, they didn't do that great. I mean, ticket sales alone dropped for them. Album sales plummeted for them because the albums weren't that great. Those Dynasty and Unmasked, Music for the Elder, Creatures of the Night even wasn't that great sales. Again, you had Ace leaving, then you had Vinnie Vincent coming in, And then shortly after that, they kicked Vinnie Vincent out for some lewd acts that he did. So they went through their changes with bands. Do I think the current lineup is good? Yeah. I actually like the current lineup. Do I see them standing away? No, not KISS. Especially Gene Simmons. You know, especially Gene Simmons. You know, if anybody's, they said they're not going to tour anymore. I doubt it. The only person I could see sticking to not touring anymore is Ozzy Osbourne. And that's because Sharon said no more. Ozzy can't move. He's going through some bad stuff with his health now again. Yeah, but as for KISS, it's like I said, a lot of people didn't like him then. Hell, there's fans today that still don't like him. There's friends of mine that I know that hate him. I mean, with a passion. You even mentioned the name of him to him. He cringes. He walks away. He can't stand them. Cleo, Cleo, if you look up for the earnings, go to, it might be on Wikipedia. It should break it down. Because it'll give an update of, you know, everything now with them. I haven't looked at that in a while. I think they're you know, probably double that now. It has to be by now at least. I mean, especially all the merchandise that they have out. You know, hell, Walmart. If you go to Walmart, there's KISS shirts, and I want to know how much Walmart gets of that. I want to know how much KISS steals from it. Granted, they're cheap shirts, you know, but a few of the shirts that they have are reprints of past concerts. I got two of them actually. I mean, for $8, hey, shit. I'm gonna say no to a shirt, shit. Yeah, 2014, they were inducted to the Hall of Fame. The original. I remember when they got inducted. I said they better induct the original four. They better induct the original four and go in with the makeup. That was the main thing. Yeah, 2004. I remember that because I remember watching the induction on VH1 Classic. Back in the day, actually 10 years ago, VH1 Classic had a show called Metal Mania. That metal show with Eddie Trunk, Jim Florentine, and Don Jamieson. That was filmed in the VH1 MTV studios in Spanish Harlem. Yeah, I remember watching that. That's what I said was they better go in with the makeup. You know, and they did. Thank God. My opinion, yeah, I make no qualms about it. I'm not silent about it. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I don't like that organization. I don't like them. KISS belongs in there without a shadow of a doubt. Bands that they are letting in now, I ask Mrs. Metalhead, I despise them. I do not like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think it's a wasted organization. If people, for anybody that thinks that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame knows anything, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame looks at the mainstream numbers the radio play, the record sales of all mainstream bands. And they start from current and past. You have a band, Iron Maiden. Are they invisible? You find me one band that does what Bruce Dickinson does with Iron Maiden. Flies his own plane. A Boeing 737 called Ed 1. Yes, he flies his own plane with equipment. All the members. You find me a band member that flies his own plane with all of his equipment on it. You know, that's one subject I could talk about for hours. I don't like them. I think they need to go away. I know I'm gonna catch a lot of shit from people. I really don't care. I think every genre of music should have their own hall. Rap does. Rap has it right here in Brooklyn or Bronx. You know, if we start doing shows like they have over in Europe, the Golden God Awards, which just happened, if we start doing things like that, how they do it, it's gonna be a lot different for music. If you guys remember back in the 90s, the music awards, look who primarily dominated the 90s when there were actual music awards. You know, now it's like you get music awards now and they're a joke. I'm sorry. The American Music Awards, it's a joke. I can't stomach it. Over in Europe, they have Golden God Awards, which is presented by so I found the name of the magazine. Metal Hammer magazine. They present it. It used to be on TV on VH1 Classic. It hasn't been on in 6 years. I'm like, why would you take it off for? Because why? People don't want to. People, the mainstream people aren't watching it. Why? It's not full of mainstream bands. It's like people need to open their eyes a little bit more. Like I said, I don't like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't like their voting system. I think it's a sham. I think they get paid off to have these bands inducted into the hall. Bands that don't have no meaning being in there. Like I said, I think each genre of music needs to have their own induction, their own hall. Because you get bands that are getting shafted yearly. It's like, I haven't seen the ones for this year yet. I saw them for last year. It's like, come on now. I was surprised when Sabbath got in. But you get bands like Maiden that are constantly getting shafted. And I'm sorry, but I know I'm partial because I'm a metalhead and I'm a huge Maiden fan. But they've been around for a long time. Name me a perfect example. Name me the last time KISS. Name me the last time KISS played in front of 250,000 people. And that's a sea of people from as far as the eye could see. You ask anybody down in, Mexico, Cuba, the countries that aren't accustomed to a lot of music. You ask them down there, biggest band, Maiden, not KISS. Maiden. KISS is big over in Japan for some reason. But Maiden's up there. Record sales, merchandise sales, ticket sales. Maiden tickets go on sale. They sell it like that. I've seen Maiden a few times. I can tell you firsthand. if it came down to me going to see Maiden or Kiss, who's Kiss? That's honest. Without a doubt, honestly. Well, once you guys get a band going, just a little guitar or, Oh, Patrick. I got to message you later. I saw the thing. I think Treaton might have sent me it. I saw. Yeah. You put it nicely. I wouldn't have. And if my name gets mentioned one more time about the, if my name gets mentioned one more time by that bullheaded Waldo, I'm not gonna take it over YouTube. I'm gonna take it to I'm gonna take it straight to him. Let him say my name one more time to somebody. I'm gonna put it out there. That person should not step in a mound of horse shit that you cannot get out of. I'm gonna leave it at that. Because I'm not the one. Hey, Miss Miller, how you doing? I know we're just talking. God, guy can't have no fun. Santa, oh my God. No, Patrick, I seen that. I agree with you. I would have been a little bit more. But I've been in a couple of chats. And my name has been popping in chats from people. And I'm just going to say, I got no problem hopping in my car going down. I got no problem. That's all I'm going to say. Because you don't want to hear at your front door. And as soon as you open that front door, you get a nice palm to the nose. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah. Eventually, Patrick, that's going to come out. I'm sure people here know, but I'm not going to say it in case there's people lingering. But yeah, I know me and certain somebody else's have been biting our tongues about it for a while now. But guys, I want to thank you. I'm getting hungry. I got Chinese food downstairs. I want to thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate it. Smash that like button. Subscribe. Share my channel out. RFD. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. But I'm the drama solve. Yeah, I can't even talk. I'm the drama problem solver. Thank you, Cleo, Pafo, RFD, Patrick, Joseph Catrone, Metal Miners, Yo Ange. Thank you guys for all coming in. I will be gone tomorrow. I'm hoping I plus have I'm supposed to have a technician coming here to take care of some housework. It has to be done. I got my physical therapy in the morning. I will probably be on tomorrow, if not today, Saturday. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other. Keep that metal flag going. Stay hard, stay heavy, stay metal, stay brutal. And as I always say, if you're going to do something, make it count. Metalhead Warrior says, I'm out. Bulldog says, keep it rocking.